have another video from the Scrapbook Generations Life's a Party crop. And this was an online crop that was from March 20 to the 22nd. And you have until April 17th to get your layouts and challenge entries in. So this was one of the sketches that they offered during the crop. They usually give you one or two, sometimes even more free sketches during the crop. And that usually tends to be a challenge as well. So I figured I would pull out these photos. I have realized that I have a lot of vacation photos that I need to really get completed so that I can be done with them. And you know, if you guys follow my channel at all, you'll know that these vacations were done at a time when I was in a relationship, and while I am still going to document them, I really am at the point where I just want to get them done and have them in my album so I don't have to think about them anymore. So this sketch was perfect for like all of the scenery photos from our Hawaii trip. And this paper pad is from Keller's Creations. I do not believe that you can get this paper pad or paper collection anymore from Keller's Creations, but they have tons of other items over on their website, and so I highly recommend you guys going and checking them out. I will link them below. They do offer a lot of 6x6. That's really their kind of passion, and she has some great advice in regards to 6x6 paper. So I think that it's a great company, and you guys definitely should check it out. I decided that I was going to use all of this paper from Keller's Creations for my Hawaii trip. We were only there a couple of days, and I don't have like a ton of photos, so I figured I could get that done. I have added a couple pieces to it, like the black and white polka dot. I added just simply because, like I said, a lot of her paper is 6x6, and this particular sketch that I was using did call for that bigger block of paper, and the black polka dot I think works really well with the teals and the greens and the other black that's in this collection. So now that I've kind of told you all about that, let me get you guys back to the layout. I have went ahead and put the base paper down. I will link this sketch below so that you can download it if you would like. Remember, with Scrapbook Generations, all of their sketches have all of the measurements on it. So if you do download the sketch, you will have all the measurements that you need for this particular sketch. I did change it up a little bit. I made those two photos on the far right-hand side a little bit bigger just because they were 3x4 photos. And I really wanted to showcase those two pictures as well, even though I didn't want them in a 4x6 size. I also decided to go ahead and leave some space behind the photos because I knew that that would be covered up, and so I decided not to waste the paper. Now I have been in a sewing mode. This is one of the times where I am so grateful that I do not scrapbook in chronological order, because if I did, when you go through my albums, you would see, yep, she is definitely in a sewing phase during that time. But because I bounce around, I mean, these photos here were from, I believe, 2018, which as I'm looking at it, I realize there's no date on it, so I definitely need to put that on there. And there is just this ton of stitching. Allison Davis usually does a lot of stitching on her layouts, and I've just felt like that's what I want to do right now. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, we're currently in a situation where we have a lot more time on our hands, and so I am spending a lot more time in my scrapbook room at this point, and because of that, I feel like I can kind of add these special details to the layout that I might not have done in the past. So once I get that stitching down, I do go ahead and pop up both of those photos on the right hand side just to make sure that they stand out against the stitching. When you do hand stitching, it does add a lot of bulk to your layout. So if you put photos directly on it, you're either going to get lumpiness from the thread that you use, or you need to make sure that you use pop dots to prevent that from happening. I am going to go ahead and add 3 banners up to the top, just like the sketch calls for. Now, with this collection, there is a lot of 4x6 cards and 3x4 cards as well. And I did use one of the 4x6 cards to not only back that photo on the right in the green, and then I used the edges of that 4x6 card to make 2 of those banners because it has like the palm leaves on it, which is perfect for this layout because there's lots of palm trees, obviously in Hawaii. And if you look at that bottom photo on the right hand side, it looks like just a big pile of white crystals. This area of Hawaii has a big difference between their high tides and their low tides. When we were walking around and going down into this area, it was low tide, right? Yeah, so the water was out. And so there were these huge piles of salt from the ocean water that had dried out, because not only was it low tide, it was the furthest from the high tide. So it had been a significant amount of time from high tide. So this water had dried out and left the salt behind, which I thought was really awesome. Keller's Creations offers one of their signature embellishment pieces where you get a 6x6 piece of paper and it has circle die cuts on it, and the die cuts are either 1.25 inches or 2 inches. So you can use your circle cutters in that size to cut out your embellishments. Now I've also used a 1-inch circle on some of the 1.25 inch, and it just cuts them a little bit smaller. And I do this a lot because what Keller's Creation does in theirs is they usually tend to have a center color and then a ring around it. So sometimes I like to have that ring and sometimes I don't, just depending on what color it is and if it's matching the area that I'm putting it in. And so in this section here, I am using the 1.25 punch, and this technique that I have used is using the Post-it note. I got this from Heather's 2-minute Tuesday technique. I think that's what she calls it. But I think that it's kind of an idea that's been around for a while. If you can't get into your punches, like the piece is too small, then go ahead and put it on a Post-it note, and that way you have more paper to punch your images out. I did go ahead and cut a bunch of hearts on the left-hand side, 5 hearts to be exact, with my punch, and I put those up on pop dots. Now the sketch calls for that section over there to have stitching through it, and I wasn't paying attention when I did my stitching, so I just put it to the left of my stitching and made it work for me. Now I do go ahead and decide to add a bow to the layout as well, and what I tend to do is use glue dots and kind of shape the bow, especially in this baker's twine or thread. It doesn't have a lot of shape to it, so I shape it and then put the glue dot behind it, and that holds it all together. And then I also added some hearts over to the right hand side where my banners are. Now I decided to make my title Dream Adventure because this was definitely a dream vacation to have, and you know, kind of one of those things that you cross off your bucket list. Hawaii is definitely a beautiful state to visit if you ever have the opportunity to go visit Hawaii. I highly recommend it because it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous area. So I also pulled out these stickers here that are travel themed, and they're enamel shapes as well. So definitely go check out the Scrapbook Generation online crop. I will post it down below. Now, the crop is over, but you do have until April 17th to enter for any of the contest. All right, everyone, here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layouts, make sure you hit that subscribe button because that's all you're going to get on my channel. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.